Hello, Collective. Let's get into this immediately because the first card says a lot. We have the Page of Swords. Okay, wait. This is interesting because the Page of Swords is not giving me, I'm going to rush in and confess everything energy. This is watching, studying, paying attention. Someone is mentally occupied with you, but they are trying hard to look unaffected. And I keep getting your face, specifically your eyes first. There is something about the way you look at people that makes this person feel exposed. Not exposed in a bad way, more like they feel like you notice more than you say. Your eye contact may be calm, maybe even brief, but to them it feels direct. They replay it afterward. And that is where this gets strange, because this person does not come through as shy in every area of life. They may be confident when it comes to work, money, decisions, leading people, handling pressure. But around you, their mind starts doing too much. The Page of Swords is a card of observation, curiosity, mental fixation, and gathering information. Symbolically, this looks like someone trying to understand you before they risk showing you how interested they are. They could notice tiny things. The way your expression changes when you are amused. The way you look away after holding eye contact. The way your lips move when you are thinking before you answer. Okay, there it is. The lips are already coming through, and I was not even trying to go there yet. This person watches your mouth when you speak, not constantly. They probably catch themselves and redirect their eyes because they do not want you noticing. And the funny part is, you may not be doing anything seductive at all. That is exactly why it affects them. You are not performing for them. You are not chasing their attention. You are just existing in your own energy. And that makes them more curious because they cannot immediately figure out whether you like them, whether you have noticed them, or whether they are invisible to you. And I'm getting one more thing before we pull the next card. They know other people notice you too. That matters. Because this Page of Swords energy is starting to feel less like simple curiosity and more like someone realizing they may not have forever to stay silent. And I think that is why this next card is important, because we have the Ten of Pentacles reversed. Okay, wait, because normally the Ten of Pentacles is security, stability, knowing where you stand, having something established. Reversed, there is uncertainty around that, and immediately I'm getting someone who does not like uncertainty. This person may be very used to having control over the practical parts of their life. They know how to make decisions. They know how to handle responsibilities. They may even be the person other people come to when something needs to be figured out. But they cannot figure you out. That bothers them more than they want to admit. Especially because they are noticing that they are not the only person paying attention to you. There could have been a moment where they watched somebody else speak to you, flirt with you, make you laugh, or just become a little too comfortable around you. And they noticed your reaction. Not because they were sitting there dramatically jealous. It feels much quieter than that. More like their mind immediately went, okay, so other people see it too. Your appeal is not something happening only inside their head. And for some reason, that realization created urgency. Because now they are thinking about what happens if somebody else is more direct than they are. What happens if someone else gets the answer they have been too cautious to ask for? And I keep coming back to one particular expression on your face. You may have looked at this person once and smiled, maybe barely smiled, and then continued with whatever you were doing. But they kept that moment. They remember your eyes right before the smile happened. They remember your mouth changing when you were trying not to smile too much. It sounds so small, but to them it was not small. And again, you were probably not attempting to seduce this person. That is the problem. Because if you were obviously flirting, they could categorize it. They could respond to it. They could decide what it meant. But you are giving them these little moments without explaining yourself. And now they are wondering whether there was something underneath them, or whether they are projecting because they want you so badly. And that Ten of Pentacles reversed is interesting for another reason. There may be someone here who has built a very controlled life. Money could be important. Career could be important. Reputation. Responsibilities. Being respected. Having people depend on them. Something about their external world feels established. So they are not used to feeling this mentally unsteady over one person, especially over somebody's eyes, somebody's smile, somebody's lips. Okay, that sounds ridiculous when you say it that simply, but that is almost why they have not moved yet. Because the next thing I'm getting is someone who can make major decisions without blinking. Somehow becoming extremely cautious when the decision involves you. And now we have the Ten of Wands reversed. Okay, this actually explains a lot, because the Ten of Wands is responsibility, pressure, carrying a lot, being the person who handles things. Reversed, I'm immediately getting somebody who has learned that they cannot personally carry everything anymore. So this may be a person with real responsibilities. They could oversee people, manage money, make decisions that affect more than just themselves. Their time feels valuable because there are constantly things requiring their attention. And there is something financially established about this energy. Not necessarily someone walking around showing everybody what they have. Actually, I get almost the opposite. This feels like someone who understands resources, someone who knows how to delegate, someone who may have worked very hard to reach a position where they no longer have to struggle with every little thing themselves. People probably come to them. People ask them for advice. People want their approval, their time, their help, their access. And then there is you. You are not coming through as someone trying to get anything from them. That changes the entire dynamic. Because they cannot use the things that normally make life easier for them to answer the one question they actually care about. Do you want me? That is what they cannot figure out. Money cannot answer that. Status cannot answer that. Being respected cannot answer that. And I think that is why your eyes affect them so much. When you look directly at this person, they almost feel stripped of whatever role they normally occupy. For a second, they are not the boss. They are not the successful one. They are not the person everybody expects to have the answer. They are just somebody wondering what you are thinking about them. And your lips. Okay, there is definitely something here about them trying not to look, especially when you are speaking directly to them. Because their mind can go from listening to what you are saying to suddenly becoming very aware of how close you are, how your mouth moves, what it might feel like to be closer than this. And then they have to pull themselves back. I would not be surprised if this person has kept certain conversations with you shorter than they actually wanted them to be. Not because they were uninterested, because they were becoming too aware of themselves. They may even rehearse what they are going to say beforehand and then somehow become less articulate once you look at them. Which is funny, because this person does not seem like somebody who normally struggles to communicate. But the Ten of Wands reversed also says something else. They are tired of carrying this privately, and I'm starting to wonder if they have already been making little adjustments to their routine. Creating reasons to cross your path, be available when you are around, or put themselves close enough for something to happen without having to admit that they planned it. And now we have the Magician reversed. Okay. That is interesting, because the Magician normally knows how to make something happen. They initiate, they communicate, they use what they have. They know how to move an idea out of their head and into reality. Reversed, there is hesitation around execution. So yes, I do think this person has been creating little openings instead of just telling you what they want. They may find practical reasons to talk to you. ask you something they could probably figure out themselves. Offer help before you really need to ask. Remember something you mentioned casually and bring it up later like it was nothing. And you may have thought, oh, they're just attentive, maybe. But symbolically, this feels like somebody collecting small pieces of information because they are trying to understand where they stand with you. They do not want to make a move and discover they completely imagined the connection. That is the part bothering them. Because you are difficult for them to read. You may be friendly without being overly available, warm without immediately revealing everything. You can have a conversation with somebody, smile, be present, and then simply go back to your own life. And I think this person keeps wondering whether that calmness means you are uninterested or whether you are just naturally composed. There could have been one tiny moment that really confused them. Maybe they said something and you looked up at them unexpectedly. You held their eyes for a second. Then you smiled, or you pressed your lips together while thinking about what you wanted to say. Something extremely normal, but this person noticed it, and afterward, they analyzed it way too much. Was that flirting? Did they look at me differently? Why did they smile like that? Okay, this person is doing research on a 2-second interaction. Not literally, but mentally? Absolutely. Yeah. And I also get them testing your response through things that do not look like obvious flirting. Humor. Doing you a favor. Making something easier for you. Giving you useful information. Maybe being slightly more generous with their time when it comes to you. Then they watch. Do you light up when they come around? Do you continue the conversation? Do you remember things about them too? Do you seem different with them than you are with everybody else? That is what they are looking for. And the magician reversed tells me something else. For somebody who usually knows exactly how to present themselves, they are becoming very self-conscious around you. Especially physically. Because underneath all of this strategy and observation, there is a much simpler problem developing. They are getting to the point where being close to you is starting to affect their body before their mind can talk them out of it. And now, we have the star reversed. Okay, this changes the feeling a little bit, because the star upright is openness, hope, allowing yourself to believe something could actually happen. Reversed, there is vulnerability around that. And that makes sense, because I do not think this person is struggling with attraction anymore. They know they are attracted to you. That part is obvious to them. The problem is what the attraction is turning into, because this is not only I want to kiss you. They do, very much. But there is something softer underneath it. They think about your touch, your hand touching theirs, you leaning into them. A hug where neither one of you pulls away immediately. Even something as simple as you sitting close enough that your arm brushes against them. And okay, wait. This person may actually imagine you touching their face. I do not know why that specifically is coming through so strongly. But there is something about tenderness here that feels almost more intense to them than anything obviously sexual. Because tenderness means something. Anybody can find somebody attractive. But being touched by someone who genuinely cares about you, that is different. And I think this person is used to receiving attention. They may be attractive themselves. They may have money, status, influence, or simply a position where people notice them and want something from them. So attention is not necessarily rare. But your attention feels rare. Because you are not giving the impression that you need anything. And that makes them want your affection even more. They want to know that if you touched them, it would be because you wanted to. If you kissed them, it would be because you felt something too. If you looked at them with those eyes from close range. Okay, that is where their composure really starts disappearing. Because they already feel like your eyes notice too much. Imagine being close enough, where they cannot pretend anymore, where you could probably see the nervousness. See them glance at your lips. See that little pause where they are trying to decide whether they should move closer or behave themselves. And I think they have been behaving themselves. Very intentionally. There may have been moments where they wanted to stand closer, touch your arm, let a hug last longer, say something more personal. But they stopped themselves, and the star reverse tells me this restraint is not really about lacking confidence. It feels more like they are protecting something, because somewhere along the way, wanting you physically turned into hoping you might actually care about them. And that is much harder to hide. Because now the real fear is not that you discover they find you attractive. The real fear is that you discover just how much they have already started wanting to matter to you. And now we have the 9 of Cups reversed. Okay, this is actually very revealing, because the 9 of Cups upright can be satisfaction, getting what you want, feeling secure in what you have. Reversed, there is this uncomfortable question of, what if having everything else still does not give me the one thing I actually want? And I think that is where this person is. They may be used to solving problems. If something needs more time, they make time. If something requires money, they have resources. If something needs a decision, they decide. But you? They cannot solve you. They cannot purchase certainty. They cannot negotiate mutual feelings. They cannot make you choose them just because they are successful, attractive, respected, or established. And I think that scares them more than simple rejection. Because rejection would hurt, yes. But what feels even more uncomfortable is the possibility that you could like what they represent without actually liking them. So I would not be surprised if this person has intentionally kept certain things understated around you. Maybe they have not talked much about what they own, what they earn, how much authority they actually have, how connected they are. They may even let you underestimate them a little, because they are watching to see how you respond when none of that is being placed in front of you. Do you still look at them that way? Do you still smile when they come around? Do you still want the conversation to continue? That matters to them. And your eyes are a huge part of this because they feel like you look past presentation. Like you are not automatically impressed just because somebody has a title or money or people listening to them, which is probably one reason they are so attracted to you. But it also makes them nervous. Because if you can see past all of that, then eventually you might see the part of them that is actually hoping, and then there are your lips again. But this time it is not only about kissing. It is about what you could say. I like you too. That is the sentence they want. And the sentence they do not want? I never thought of you that way. Okay, yeah, that would hit this person hard. Because there may already be enough emotional investment here that they would feel foolish for letting it get this far privately. Especially if there is some kind of professional, social, or practical connection between you, where they still have to act normal afterward. So they keep control. They keep it contained. But something about this 9 of Cups reversed says the containment is becoming less satisfying. Watching you is not enough anymore. Imagining it is not enough. And I keep getting that something has shifted recently. Maybe someone else is getting closer to you. Maybe you have become harder to access. Maybe your energy toward them changed just slightly. Whatever it is, they are starting to realize that staying silent may no longer be the safest option. And now we have the 9 of Wands reversed. Okay, this feels like somebody reaching the limit of how long they can keep their guard up. Because the 9 of Wands upright can be defensive, watching, protecting yourself, holding your position because you do not want to get caught off guard. Reversed, that wall starts getting harder to maintain. And I think something has happened that made this person realize they could actually miss their chance. It does not have to be dramatic. Maybe they saw somebody else being obviously interested in you. Maybe they noticed you becoming busier, less available. more focused on something new. Or maybe nothing external happened at all. Maybe they simply realized their feelings were not going away. Because they have probably told themselves before, just give it time. Let this settle down. Stop thinking about them. And it did not work. So now their behavior may be changing slightly. They might initiate conversation more often. Stay a little longer. Ask you something more personal instead of keeping everything surface level. You could notice them giving you a compliment that feels different from the usual polite kind. Something specific. Something that tells you they have really been looking at you. And I keep seeing this moment where you look directly at them after they say something. Maybe they were testing the waters. Maybe they've almost crossed into obvious flirting. And your eyes meet theirs. There is a pause. They hold it longer than they normally would. Then their eyes drop to your lips for literally a second. And they catch themselves. Okay, yeah. That is the kind of thing you may have already noticed, without understanding how much was happening underneath it. You might already sense that this person gets different around you. Maybe slightly quieter, or more attentive. Maybe they suddenly become very aware of how they are standing, what they are saying, what their face is doing. But I do not think you necessarily realize the depth of it. Because internally, this has moved past. Am I attracted to this person? They already know the answer. Now it is becoming, how much longer can I keep acting like this is nothing? And that 9 of Wands reversed is important because maintaining distance takes energy too. Pretending not to care takes energy. Watching somebody you want while giving them almost no indication that you want them. That gets exhausting, especially for someone who normally acts when they see something they value. And I think that is where the next layer gets much more serious. Because this person is not only imagining finally getting closer to you anymore. They have started imagining what it would actually be like if you were part of their life. And now we have the 2 of Pentacles. Okay, that makes so much sense here. Because the 2 of Pentacles is about making room. Balancing. Figuring out how something fits into a life that already has a lot going on. And that is what I think this person has started doing mentally with you. They are not only thinking, what would it be like to kiss them? They are thinking about where you would fit. In their schedule. In their private life. Around the responsibilities they already have. There is something very practical about the way this person imagines love. They may picture calling you after a long day. Having dinner with you. Taking you somewhere because they know you would enjoy it. Making sure you are comfortable. Helping with something before you even have to ask. Not because they think you cannot handle yourself. Actually, I think they know you can. They just like the idea of being allowed to care for you. That is different. And for somebody who may be very busy, very established, or very protective of their time, imagining another person inside their routine is significant. Because this person does not seem like they casually give everyone access to them. There are probably parts of their life that very few people see. The exhausted version. The quiet version. The version that does not have to be impressive or responsible for everybody else. And they have started imagining you seeing that version. Okay, that is surprisingly intimate, because I keep getting this image of them wanting to come home and not have to perform. Just sit beside you, talk, touch you casually. Have your hand on them while you are both doing something completely ordinary. And yes, they still think about your lips. Obviously. But now they are also imagining your face when they finally tell you. Would you smile? Would you look surprised? Would you tease them because you already knew? Would you get quiet? They are trying to imagine the answer before they ever ask the question. And the 2 of Pentacles tells me they may already be protecting space for you without realizing how serious that sounds. Thinking ahead. Considering whether certain plans could include another person. Wondering what traveling with you would be like. what holidays would feel like. What it would be like to know that this connection is secure, instead of constantly wondering where they stand. I am not saying this card guarantees marriage or anything like that, but there is definitely long-term thinking here. Building, consistency. Having someone beside them, instead of simply having someone they desire from a distance. And I think that realization scares them a little, because this went from attraction to actual possibility in their mind. But here is what is interesting. For somebody imagining all of this, I do not think the way they finally reveal it is going to be dramatic at all. I think it may start with one very simple conversation that suddenly becomes much more personal than you expected. And now we have the Chariot reversed. Okay, that is almost perfect for what we were just saying, because the Chariot upright moves. It chooses a direction, it takes control and goes. Reversed? There is somebody who wants movement but keeps checking themselves right before they actually do it. So I do not think this person suddenly comes rushing toward you with some huge confession. That would almost be out of character. I think it starts smaller. A conversation that lasts longer than usual. A question that feels a little too personal to be casual. Are you seeing anybody? Or maybe they invite you somewhere and the invitation feels different. More intentional. Less like there happened to be an opportunity, and more like they specifically want time with you. And watch their eyes. Because I keep getting that they may hold eye contact longer when they are getting close to saying something real. Then pause, look at your mouth, and immediately bring their eyes back up because they know exactly what they just did. Okay, yeah, you might catch this person. Not necessarily catch them confessing. Catch them losing control for a second. Their voice may change. They may become quieter. They might say something flattering and then almost look annoyed with themselves because it revealed more than they intended. And the Chariot reverse tells me they are still trying to control the speed of this. Because they do not only need courage, they need safety. They need some indication that if they show you this softer side, you are not going to make them regret it. That matters more than I realized earlier. This person does not want to simply tell you, I'm attracted to you. They want to know whether there is somewhere for that attraction to go. Whether you could actually take them seriously. Whether this could become something stable instead of one vulnerable moment they have to recover from afterward. And that is where the commitment energy starts making more sense. Not that I am saying somebody is immediately showing up with a ring. But if this person opens that door and realizes you feel the same way, they do not feel casual about you. They are thinking in terms of consistency, exclusivity, building something. And when they finally give you enough information to understand what has been happening, they are going to watch your face very carefully. Your eyes first, then your lips. Because those were the two things that pulled them in, and now, those are the two things that may tell them whether they are safe to keep going. But before we close this out, there is one deeper reason I think they have been unable to shake you. And surprisingly, it has very little to do with how attractive you are. And now we have the Nine of Pentacles reversed. Okay, there it is, because the Nine of Pentacles upright is very self-contained, independent, secure. Knowing what you have built and being comfortable standing on your own. Reversed, something gets underneath that independence. And I think that is exactly what you have done to this person. Not because you made them dependent on you. That is not what I mean. It is more like somebody who is normally very comfortable, being self-sufficient, suddenly realizing, I actually want to share this with someone. And that someone is you. That is the deeper part. Because yes, they noticed your appearance. Obviously, your eyes got their attention. Your lips became something they kept catching themselves looking at. But neither one of those things would have kept this person mentally occupied for this long if there was nothing underneath it. Your eyes make them feel seen. not admired, seen. There is a difference. This person may be very accustomed to people noticing what they have accomplished, their position, their confidence, their money, their competence. Whatever makes them appear established from the outside. But when you look at them, they get the uncomfortable feeling that none of that is really what you are responding to. You are looking at the person. And, okay, that is exactly why it scares them too. Because status gives them some control over how people perceive them. Money gives them options. Competence gives them confidence. But none of those things can control what happens when they finally say something vulnerable and then have to watch your face for the answer. That is where your lips come back in. They have spent all this time wanting to kiss you, yes, but now your mouth represents something else too. Your response. What you are going to say. Whether you smile. Whether you tell them you felt it too. Whether you give them permission to come closer. And that is why this attraction went from observation to urgency. From wanting your body to wanting your affection. From being curious about you to imagining a place for you in their life. The irony is that somebody who may have worked very hard to become independent is now being confronted with the fact that independence is not the same thing as intimacy. And they want intimacy with you. If feelings are mutual, I do think this person could approach the connection seriously. Not because a card guarantees a ring or a future, but because their energy around you does not feel like, let me get their attention and see what happens. It feels like, if I open this door, I want it to mean something. And collective, you still get to decide what you want. Their feelings do not create an obligation for you, but I think the final message here is that you may have affected someone much more deeply than you realized, simply by being yourself around them. Your eyes made them feel seen. Your lips made them wonder what it would feel like to be received. And somewhere between those two things, this person stopped merely watching you and started hoping you might eventually choose to let them closer.